What is your philosophy of managing people? Are you one of those who believe that people work only if they are guided constantly, supervised, and if necessary reprimanded, constantly told to do, what not to do, and things like that? When you assign goals, are you one of those who assign goals strictly according to the rules or regulations rather than looking at the kind of capabilities your juniors have and differentiate and give differential goals for different people working in the same department with the same designation, with same kind of experience and so on? When they make mistakes, how do you deal with them? Do you deal with them by reprimanding, pointing out the consequences of the mistakes they made, warning them, and suggesting that next time if they make the mistake, they will have to face the consequences and so on? So in a way threatening them and things like that. When your juniors fail, or if you are a parent, when your children fail, what is the way you deal with it? Do you sit with them, reason out, and make sure that they realize the reasons why they failed, or do you immediately get into a state where you feel very unhappy, very upset, or maybe angry, and warn the person, look, I told you several times, don't do this, and you have been doing that. As a result of this is what has happened. So you reprimand, express excessive concern, and ultimately create some kind of a tension and so on. If you have information to share, are you one of those managers or leaders who believe that information should be shared only when it is extremely necessary? There is no point all the time giving information, because people are unlikely to use it, more likely to misuse the information, and therefore better to keep the information for yourself, and only when it is extremely required give the information. Similarly, are you one of those managers who believe that if you recognize and reward people too frequently or too much or every time, they will sit on your head and will take liberties with you? Therefore you need to recognize them, incentivize them very, very selectively, very, very sparingly. Are you one of those who, when you are managing your meetings, compulsorily and compulsively talk and spend most of the time giving directions, explaining to people, and setting goals and things like that? Well, these are all the symptoms of a critical leader. If you believe that the best way to manage people is by constantly exercising control, reprimand, directions, etc., then you are closer to what Douglas McGregor at one time called as a theory X leader. We call them in our leadership style parlor critical leader. So critical leaders set goals as per the rules, cannot tolerate failures, cannot tolerate mistakes, and reprimand people whenever they are in conflict, do not easily share information, constantly give directions, and sparingly recognize or provide rewards to people. They have a very interesting philosophy. Of course, there is nothing like the right philosophy, wrong philosophy, and so on, that if you give too much of liberty, people will sit on your head. Our research indicates that people who have this kind of a leadership style produce a lot of tension in the workplace. The juniors work. They work maybe very hard, but they work only when the boss is there, and work quite often out of fear and tension. And the workplace atmosphere is filled with tension, and normally these kind of juniors are looking for the boss to either go on leave or go on tour, or they are quite relaxed, and perhaps sometimes they do better in the absence of the boss. So they create resentment, tension, and a negative atmosphere in the workplace. So therefore it is obvious that this particular style is not a good style to use. But having said that, we don't want to say that this particular style is all the time useless. There are occasions when this particular style helps to rejuvenate an organization. Now, what are these occasions? If a particular department is not doing well at a given point of time, it is because people have taken liberties. They are not behaving in a disciplined way. People have lost their accountabilities. They are having fun time, happy-go-lucky kind of people, not minding the tasks, not accomplishing the goals, and the organization or the department is not producing results because people have lost the sense of values, sense of discipline. This is a point of time where a critical leader can make a lot of difference. He can bring in discipline, he can bring in norms, he can enforce norms, and he can create a very purposive kind of an organization. Uh, Also, with certain individuals who are not very disciplined, you may like to use this kind of a style. But I would not recommend the use of this style all the time. Even if you have to use this particular style for a particular department or a project or a set of people or an individual, I think soon you should be able to build that individual or the department to a level, bring that to a level they are able to have self-regulation and be able to be accountable and work on their own. Otherwise, it creates a workplace tension and it is not desirable. It might even bring down the brand value of the company as well as the manager. It is quite often said that people, when they leave, they don't leave companies, they leave managers. That means if managers are not good, people will feel like quitting the job. They become resentful and so on. So therefore be aware that if your people are leaving you, it is not because of you, it may be in spite of you. If your people are leaving, they are likely to tell you well in advance and in a warm way, taking you into confidence. I think critical leaders do not create trust. So if your juniors are trusting you, maybe it is an indication that you are not a very critical leader. Whatever I have said here also applies to critical parents. As a parent, if you are critical, you set goals indiscriminately, cannot tolerate failures, all the time giving directions to your child and reprimanding for the mistakes, then you are a critical leader. I think such kind of children are likely to grow up with a lot of resentment and they may not be getting the best out of themselves and their life and so on. So watch out, and a good 360-degree feedback is always helpful. Our own experience is, among all the leadership styles, it is the critical leadership style that is very insensitive to the feelings of others. Therefore, it is important that you do something like a 360-degree feedback and become more sensitive to your own style and make sure that you are not a for life user of critical leadership style. All the best from TVRLS. Be a great leader and make a very positive kind of an impact.